I've always told you this before, that whenever you're making a track, just make sure that before starting the next part of the track, listen to what you already have done. Preferably, it's always a good idea to, make a track sort of part by part. So you make the groove, give it a couple of hours of rest, listen to it again, see how it's sounding, just in case you want to add anything or subtract anything. That'll just give you a little bit of a more fresher perspective on how the track is sounding or how the groove is sounding. So we heard the groove that we made in the previous episodes. Today we are going to be making the bass line for the track. Well, after listening to my groove one more time, I felt that the groove is sounding nice. It's pretty complete for the type of track that I'm making. Well, now what you need to determine is that when you're working with VSTIs, unlike with samples, if you're making a bass line, you need to actually put in the notes for the bass line. Either play them or just use your virtual keyboard on Logic Pro X, open it up, and the shortcut for that is Command K. So what you can do is open up the virtual piano and play the notes on that, or otherwise just hit P on your keyboard, open up the piano roll at the bottom of the Logic Pro X software, and then just fit in the notes over there. So what we have to do right now is first see which key do you want the track to be in. What I have done over here is I've put this track in B flat minor. So I'm going to be putting in just very simple notes for the bass line to make a nice clean bass for a deep electronic track. I open my piano roll down here and you can see I've already filled in some notes. Well, I've only filled in two notes. One is B and the other one is G. Well, listen to what these notes sound like just on its own. Well, just to remind you guys one more time that we are going to be using all the VSTIs which are just from Logic Pro X. We are not using any third-party VSTIs. So we are using the ES2 from Logic Pro X, which are very nice synth. You can make some excellent synths and bass lines with this particular VSTI. So, like I said, the notes which I put in are B and G. Let's see how they sound just in solo. On my keyboard, I put them in the C1 section. As you know that you have a keyboard with a lot of octaves. So I've put it in the C1 section, so it gives you that really absolutely fantastic low ends. So these two notes, again, let's see how they sound, and then we'll start the kick and the groove one by one to see how it sounds. So we're sounding good. Let's put on the kick with the bass line and see how that sounds. Giving you a nice ride, a nice rhythm to just bob your head to and groove. And just like that, slowly, let's put on the full groove one by one and see how the bass line sounds with the full groove together. This is the kick and the bass. Clap, kick and the bass. The hi-hats, clap, kick and the bass. Our second hi-hat sample which we had used. And last but not the least, the percussion. So there you go. You have a nice groove with one single bass line giving you that low ends. Now what I've done in my bass line over here is I've put a few effects. With the ES2, I've put an EQ. What I've done again in the EQ is that I've cut out the lows slightly, not totally, just a little bit, because I'm getting the low ends even from the kick, and I don't want the low ends of the kick and the bass line coming together and making the sound and the track more muffled. So cut the low ends slightly, increase the highs, because this bass line was it had no high frequencies and no clarity at all. So just to bring it out when I mix the track, I've increased the high frequencies slightly. So the first thing that I've put is an EQ. The second thing I've done is I've put a slight reverb to it just to widen the bass line, because I felt that when I played the bass line without the reverb, it was just sounding too compact and too narrow. I wanted to just make it a little bit brighter, a little bit wider. So that's why I put a reverb. And the third thing, the most important thing, you have to remember this, that the bass and the kick always require a compression. So like I put the compression in the kick, I put a compression even on the bass line. Once again, to let you guys know, all these effects, the EQs, the Space Designer, reverb and the compression are all built in Logic Pro X. So if you have Logic Pro X, just go into the audio effects section in your inspector and click down and you'll see all these effects right there. So there you go. We have a nice bass ready for our groove. Let's listen to it one more time. Can you just picture this track being played in the club and that bass line really hitting you hard when you're on the dance floor? Well, stay tuned to DJ Suketu Unplugged, and we're going to be getting you building this track more and more, something about this beat.